Really close. Okay. Hi, welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you could come out to our town hall and that you're involved in the political process. I know I've seen some of your faces at other events that we've had, and we're just really grateful for the support. After the election, I sat home pretty much in despair for a couple of months, and after sitting around feeling more depressed and more concerned about what was happening, then I decided that I knew I had the skills, and so I decided I was going to create the energy to pull together a group of people and do some things to fight against what was happening. Higher, huh? Okay, thank you. I'll take this down for a minute. That might help also. I use it because I'm immunocompromised. So after about 2 months, I reached out to a few folks I know, and with total volunteer support, we have put on, this is our 4th event. And so we only formed 2 months ago, sitting around a living room, and we put on 4 events. We've got a website, we've got some social media going, and so we're really excited about being able to get together and to support the community. Together Works Southern Utah is a nonpartisan organization united to inform, educate, and effect positive change for all members of the community. As you can see, our representatives did not show up today, and they were told not to come and do these town halls. And so unfortunately, that's what we ended up with, is empty chairs. We tried real hard to get a Dem here also, and the big names, they figured out that they can draw tens of thousands, and so that's what they're doing, and I'm super happy that they're doing that, so that's cool. We want this country to succeed, but we believe that it's on the wrong track right now, and so we feel like we wanted to give an opportunity to you to voice your concerns. So what we're going to do is those are the first 5 ticket numbers that we drew out, if you look at the last 3 digits. So in that order, you will speak. And you can just say whatever you want the representatives to hear, because we're videotaping this, and we'll be sending a copy of this to each of them, and we'll also be using it promotionally. We did create a YouTube channel, and so we'll be posting this on the YouTube channel as well. I was just going to remind you to turn off your cell phones, or turn the ringer off at least. Let's see, what else do I want to say? So if you have a comment but you'd rather not stand up and speak, then you are certainly welcome to put it on a little card and have us say it for you. We don't want to leave anybody out who wants to speak. And if you decide partway through that you have something to say and you didn't take a ticket, that's okay too, because once we exhaust those, we'll just come to the audience. So there are people that I would like to thank real quick, and those are the volunteers that helped in the past couple of months and even today. And so if you will just wave your hand when I say your name, that would be great. There are a couple of our folks who aren't here today, but I'm going to go ahead and say their names anyway. Lissa McCarroll. Yeah. Genevieve Wyman. Cece Clausen is not here today. Shaylee Jones. Nancy Smith. Ron Raycos and Judy. Heather Bloxam, sorry I didn't say that right, and the Washington County Library. And finally, I'd like to introduce our moderator for the afternoon, and that is Clay Bloxam. So I'd like to to introduce him by letting you know a little bit about him. Over the past 2 decades, Clay Bloxham built and managed multiple human resource outsource companies throughout the Intermountain West. After selling those businesses, Clay and his wife Heather found themselves again living in southern Utah, where they have enjoyed meeting new people and making new memories. Over the past 2 decades, Clay Bloxham built and managed multiple, maybe I just double copied that sentence. Anyway, please welcome Clay.
Thanks, Jill. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right, I'll try this. I'll use this if I need to, if my voice starts cracking. Can you believe that you found yourselves here on a Friday night? On a busy weekend when you could be out at a restaurant? Instead, they're all going to be full by the time we get out of here. I can't believe that it's Friday night and we find ourselves here having to put up a fight to save our democracy. The last 3 months, my wife and I have kind of this routine daily where we go through the news and different news sources, YouTube and podcasts, and we find ourselves at night watching Rachel Maddow. She does such a good job laying out the issues of the day and highlighting protests throughout the nation and in other countries. She does it so succinctly, and at the end of her program, my wife and I will be sitting there just in our mouths will be dropped. We're wondering how we're going to get through this. I'm afraid, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way.
Absolutely.
Frustrated, anxiety levels is just through the roof. No way to find any equanimity, any mental peace. And then we went to the protest a couple weeks ago in the park, and we felt uplifted because we realized there's so many other people like-minded, frustrated equally, and our fear and our anxiety was kind of communal. It was shared. It wasn't all on my shoulders. It was collective. And that makes it a lot easier to get through these times when we know we have a community around us. And we went to the protest at the mall right before that, and that's where I met Jill. We were on the far left side, and there were a bunch of older women right next to us with their signs, and some of them had walkers. And what really pissed me off that day was some diesels that had pulled up, flipping us off, yelling at these women, and blew their diesel exhaust, and they were at the light so they could continue to do it. And something broke in me, because I thought of my mom or my grandma finding the courage to go out there and fight for their freedom, their democracy. And courage is contagious. And I think the women that have been leading this charge are remarkable. And you see it all over the country. They're the leaders in this. The fear that we have felt causes us to sometimes tune out. Let's turn off the news, don't ingest any of it, but that's the problem. Fear and apathy is where fascism thrives. If we tune out, we're going to miss what's happening. And is there anything more important to be paying attention to in the world right now than this historic takeover of our country? This is our moment, just like Senator Booker said. This is our moral moment. And I have kind of paid attention of the demographics at these protests, and I know that there's probably no one in this room that served in World War II. But you've heard the stories, right? My grandfather on my mom's side served in the Navy in the South Pacific on a sub chaser. And my great uncle on my dad's side died in the Bataan Death March in 1942. So I grew up just like everyone here, hearing the stories firsthand of the fight against these dictators. And one thing that always kind of stuck out to me was the idea that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And I really believe that. That's how the framework of our Constitution was set up, so that the people have the power. You know, when history looks back on 2025, we're going to be asked which side we stood on. And I'm so glad to see so many people here, and some of the faces are starting to look very familiar, so I'm really glad. Now, there might be someone in this room tonight that voted for Trump and finds themselves here tonight. And I'm sure you probably feel alone and alienated. I would. But your voice is very important in this time. You were lied to, just like all of us were. You can have a regret for voting for him, but really you were lied to. And your voice can really change the hearts and minds of people that also voted for him, but are trying to figure out where they're going to land in this. You know, in this frustration-filled news, it just feels so surreal. And we wonder what we can do. And I think we all kind of know that we need to stay informed, stay tuned in, don't tune out, know the issues, and speak up. At one of the protests, I bought a Resist Doge t-shirt. And after the protest, I came home and I took our dog to the park. And I had the shirt on, not even remembering I had it on, and someone came up to me at the park walking his dog and said, "Hey, is that t-shirt a joke?" And I said, "No, it's not a joke at all." And I was afraid there was going to be a confrontation, and it wasn't. He said, "Thanks for wearing that, I appreciate it." And then he told me his story about being a U.S. Marshal in Salt Lake for 28 years and couldn't believe what was happening to federal employees and the national parks and USAID and PEPFAR and the Veterans Association, Veterans Affairs, and I mean, we could go on and on. What was that?
Social Security.
Oh, Social Security and Medicaid. There's hundreds of issues, and I'm glad you guys are prepared with your issue. I hope you speak about anything you want to speak about. Let's take the time. You know, these clowns, I don't know if you guys saw. Let's be honest, they are afraid. They are afraid just like us. But they're afraid of retribution, retaliation at great lengths. They can come after us and we'll be fine. And I understand the fear of even putting your name and your contact information on things. But shouldn't that be the scariest thing for us to realize, that we're afraid to even put our contact information on something, or afraid to wear a certain t-shirt? What kind of country are we living in if there's a suppression of opposing thought and ideas? And it's only taken 3 months for it to be almost normal that we're afraid of this. I don't know if you guys saw that Lisa Murkowski Townhall she did yesterday, where she admitted she's afraid, and she said we're all afraid in Congress. It's a great, quick. It was a little off the cuff, very candid interview she did, but it was a really good sign that there could be a break happening. I wish it was coming from one of our Utah representatives, and maybe it will. Maybe it will, and it's just going to take enough pressure on them and enough protest with 1,000 people, 10,000 people for them to realize that maybe this is the time to push back. pretty much it for me. I wanted to go over a few of the issues specifically, but I think we'll probably cover it with everyone having a chance to speak. How many people in here, show of hands, would like to speak? I know you guys all did so we know, if we do 3 minutes each, probably 20 people, 15 people. Yeah, it'd be great. And then if there's time left over, we can open it up and you guys can come up as well. These are the first numbers. Let's go ahead and have 128 come on up. And I can bring the mic to you, or you can stand up here and speak, or stand behind the podium, whatever works.
Should also say, someone's gonna be back here, they'll give you a yellow
Okay.
caution sign when you have 30 seconds left, and then we'll pull you off the stage.
Hi, everybody. My name is Colleen Winters. This young lady here is our representative. I live in Bloomington. I live 2 blocks from Zone 6, which some of you might know about. It's currently part of the Red Cliffs Conservation Reserve. Now that's at risk. That's not what I'm going to talk about today, but I am going to talk about wild lands and all things wild in particular, because that's what's important to me. Senator Lee and Representative Maloy have recently introduced what is known as the West Act, and it addresses BLM lands. Now the BLM lands, I remember from when I was a kid, I thought I really hated them because they were dried up, used up, stripped off. They were as barren as the carpet on this floor. But then one year, the BLM put a conservation clause in their public lands rule. Lo and behold, guess what happened? They started looking pretty decent. Imagine that. They were actually nice places to be. These two want to take that clause out of the public lands rule. And that's right in keeping with the White House. The White House, we might agree, seems to understand the world as one big, huge, extractable resource. So, if we remove the conservation clause from BLM, we can extract quite a lot from it. Minerals, mining, overgrazing, all kinds of things like that. She also has a bill to open up, I don't remember any of these bill numbers, I'm sorry, to open up some Henry's Mountain lands under the guise of multiple use. So what I would encourage everybody here today to do is research that a little bit. It's right there. You can go to Representative Maloy's website. What I would ask Representative Maloy herself was, what makes you think that that's a good thing? What makes you think that removal of conservation is a good thing? If you want to put these lands in Utah's hands rather than federal lands, which is another one of her trumpets she's blowing, what makes you think that Utah will do a better job? What makes you think that the rest of the world is going to stand by and let you do this? If I have a couple of more minutes, I'll add something else in. Right at the very beginning of all of this disaster that's happening, I actually wrote to her about Elon Musk and the muskrats. When they first started barging into all of these federal offices, I said, I don't know what you should do, but I want you to do it to put the brakes on him. And she wrote, I'm going to leave it up to the judiciary. to decide if they're doing anything illegal or not. If the judiciary says it's illegal, then I'll do something. But until then, so sorry. So, again, Senator Maloy, a lot of people are hearing this. What makes you think that's a good way to be? Thanks so much.
142.
What was the number?
142? Going once?
Just a suggestion, you might want to have people stage to come on so we don't take a minute or two.
I can bring the mic to you too if you.
Why don't we?
You know, that have them.
We want them down
Get
there.
on. Oh, right there.
We're on the second one from the top.
So it's 142.
142.
Then 143, then 140, and then 138.
Thank you.
143?
You're good?
We want to bring
Then you go.
Okay.
Everyone see that?
So let's have 143, 140, and 138 come up here, and they can stage right here.
Yeah.
Okay, come on up.
Hi, my name is Cindy Hansen, and I was born and raised in Sandy, Utah. And one of my ancestors is Jacob Bastian, who was the founder, one of the founders of this town. And I also have, just to speak to what you said earlier about the Second World War, my grandmother's brother, my grandmother's whole family was thrown into the Second World War and fought in the Second World War, including my grandfather, who didn't see his first war until he was 3 years old, due to being out and fighting for our country and our nation and for democracy. My grandmother's brother was captured in the Battle of Bulge and put in a concentration camp. And I did grow up knowing him. He has passed a few years ago, about 10 years ago. And my grandmother always talked to me and told me about how that affected him and how he was never the same. He went to war a really happy young man and very gregarious and fun-loving and life-loving, and came home a broken person. And he wouldn't talk about what happened to him at that concentration camp. The only thing that my family could relate about it is that he escaped at peril of other people, and that had affected him his whole life. And he was made to stand in the snow barefoot with other people. When anyone would try to escape, they would put people standing in the snow to punish those who tried to escape until they collapsed. These are real things that happen to real people. And I don't think that any member of my family ever fought in a war to then come here